everyone, I'm Kirsten Davidson, your host and creator of my wellness podcast, Mind the Gaps. Surrendering our typical ways of looking at life to step out of our comfort zone and into our growth zone. Welcome to episode number 18, Travel as Our Greatest Teacher, where I'm joined by experienced registered yoga teacher, yoga medicine therapeutic specialist, and neurogenic yoga and TRE provider, Melanie Caines, to talk about all things travel and how the lessons and experiences we gain from traveling can translate into our daily lives. Melanie has been a certified yoga teacher since 2008, and she's passionate about helping people improve their physical and mental well-being. She has a strong love of movement and teaches inclusive vinyasa/flow classes infused with spirit, laughter, sweat, and creativity. She holds many certifications in different styles of yoga, such as Yin, Restorative, and Yoga Nidra. Her St. John's, Newfoundland yoga studio has been a fixture on the yoga scene since 2010, and she's also the creator of Move with Melanie, a video-on-demand membership site with over 350 practices. As a lover of travel, she's been leading delicious and exciting international yoga retreats in Costa Rica, Cuba, Mexico, Indonesia, Morocco, and throughout Europe for over 10 years. If you're feeling inclined to indulge your senses for travel, yoga, and cuisine, be sure to follow Melanie on Instagram at Melanie Caines. That's MELANIECAINES. You can also find more details about Melanie's yoga videos on demand and her yoga retreats at www.melaniecaines.com. Now, I first met Melanie this past January when I landed in Nosara, Costa Rica to embark on a yoga retreat led by Melanie herself. As you'll hear in today's episode, Melanie's passions for examining the unexamined and for deliberately positioning herself outside of her comfort zone are what fills her calendar with travel for about 6 months out of each year. As on our retreat and in this interview, Melanie and I laughed, we cried, we relished in the beauty of journeys, not just destinations, and in doing so, we unpacked, pun intended, how travel can act as our greatest teacher. For all things Mind the Gaps, you can find me on Instagram at kirsten.davidson. I'm happy to answer every single one of your questions, comments, or feedback on the show, and most of all, I'm happy to have you as part of the Mind the Gaps community. If you're interested in booking a therapy session with me, please feel invited to email me at kirsten@mindthegaps.co. You can also schedule a session online through the link found on all of my social media platforms. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope you enjoy. Hi, Melanie. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
So I thought we could start off by diving right into travel and you telling us what originally sparked your interest in travel.
You know, I think about this a lot, and I think it stems back to when I was in high school. I did one of those high school trips during Easter to Europe. So it was like a class trip. I think there was maybe 20 or 30 of us and a couple of teachers as chaperones. And it had been the first time that I had been anywhere internationally. And I just remember so much shifting for me during that trip. We would all have these group meals at hotels. Of course, they would plate up things that maybe we weren't used to eating, and no one would eat it. And they would all go to McDonald's afterwards. And there's this great photo of 20 or 30 of us, and we're all sitting at a table, and everyone's plate is full of food except mine. I was the only one that would eat like the Cornish hen or the whatever they had on the plate, because I was just soaking it all up and wanting to just take in all the experiences and have all the experiences. And no one else was, I think, that enthusiastic. But I remember that trip thinking, wow, there's so much out there and I want to see it.
So you were the one that was apart from the crowd, recognizing the beauty of embracing the unknown. And then other people are like, well, I would like the familiar. I would like McDonald's.
Yeah. And I think, I think that it depends on what kind of travel you are. And I think sometimes people travel and they want the comforts of home. And so when they don't get the comforts of home when they travel, there can be a little bit of resistance or discomfort. And there's people that want to go out there and they want the new and they want the experiences. So I think it kind of depends on what kind of traveler you are. And that certainly directs where you go and what you do with your travel experience.
That totally makes sense. And just branching off from that, with you being away from home for so many months of the year, I'm curious, how do you make home where you are?
Ooh, that's a good one. You know what? I don't find that a struggle. Well, actually, first of all, I have to unpack. So there's people that, will do a week-long retreat and they'll just pull their clothes out of the suitcase, and that's like blowing my mind because I need everything in its place. So when I get in my room, it will completely unpack. Everything's going to be neat and organized and tidy, and that is my home. That is my space for the week that I'm there. So that's very important to me. That really grounds me and that settles me. So when I'm at home, I have daily routines or things that I do every single day. So I have a breath practice. I just 3 minutes breathing deeply and consciously. I have a 12-minute meditation practice. I have a movement practice. So I make sure that when I'm on the road, I'm still doing those things. And so that I'm taking care of myself mentally, emotionally, physically, and also eating really well. So just staying on track that way, making sure that I'm, having all the goodness of, and of course indulging too, but I find just sticking to what makes me feel good and trying to incorporate that as much as I can wherever I am.
And then I know that a big part of travel is connection, right? So finding new people and creating your tribe, and the tribe evolves. And because you're a retreat leader, you come into contact with so many different people. And I know we have recurring travelers, recurring clients, because they just love your energy and the way that you bring home wherever you travel for them too, right? Like I felt that when I was on retreat with you, there was this kind of like safety and comfort in a place in the world that I had never been before, which was, for listeners, Costa Rica, almost a year ago. So yeah. But along the lines of connection, how do you find that connection plays a role in building that home?
Oh, it's so important. I mean, we know the importance of community on mental and emotional well-being. During my retreat weeks, we're there for 7 days, which actually feels like, I don't know, 7 weeks. It's this wonderful thing when I travel. I find time just stretches and it really slows down in the most wonderful kind of way. So creating that community amongst people who maybe know each other a little bit or maybe don't know each other at all really brings a level of comfort and safety. And I think there's some amazing conversations and friendships that bloom out of those connections because we do feel bonded. We're close together. We're staying together. We're engaging in the same activities. We're doing yoga. We're eating meals together. And there's some incredible retreat friendships that I've seen start, maybe roommates that I've paired up, and those people are still friends. And I think having that shared experience, that intimate experience over the week really allows people to feel more connected. And when they're more connected, they can feel safer and happier.
Yeah, it's funny as you say that. When someone asked me kind of recently, "Oh, how long were you in Costa Rica?" My knee-jerk reaction was 2 weeks. And I'm like, why did I say that? I was there for 1 week.
Yeah, it
It
just
felt
feels so
like
much
two.
longer. And I find the conversations go deeper. Like you might be having dinner with someone on night two, sharing things that you would never share on the second day of meeting someone. But there's just that level of intimacy and connection that you feel like you know people better and deeper. And it's a really beautiful thing.
Mhm. So I'm also curious, Melanie, what we understand, how you got into enjoying travel and wanting to pursue that. What led this to be your main career focus?
It was never sort of intended to be. I was working as an actor. I'm a professional theater actor in my 20s, doing some yoga on the side. And I was really into, running and strength training. And I was going through a hard time mentally. And I sought out yoga teacher training as a way to help myself. So this was probably about less than 20 years ago. And so the conversation around mental health isn't what it is now. I really didn't know how to help myself. The idea of talking to a counselor, I didn't know anyone who went to one. I didn't know how I would seek one out or even afford one. So for me, I thought maybe yoga teacher training will give me the skills and the resources to help myself out of or through what I'm feeling. And of course it did. And then I became inspired to help others. And so that was a real life shift where I was teaching yoga on the side. And then yoga became my everyday thing that I was offering and working at. And then I decided to do a retreat with Catherine Budig, who's a really well-known yoga teacher in the US. And it was a New Year's retreat over 2012 into 2013. And someone I knew came with me, and she was a member of my studio, also had become a friend. And so we were on the retreat. It was in Mexico. And she looked at me and she said, I think you could do this. And I said, do what? And she said, lead a retreat. I said, what? Like, it never even occurred to me. She said, yeah, I think people from our studio would come. I'll help you organize it if you're interested. I did it, and it went well. And then it just started branching off from there. Like the next year I'd add another location, another location, another location. And then it just grew and grew and grew organically, which is my favorite way to grow anything. And then here we are. So it was never something that was sort of on my path. I guess it was always on my path, but not something that I had seen or foreseen.
That's so beautiful. And when you're saying that you found some type of solace and like mental release through the practice of yoga, and then adding travel to that, I think is really special, because yoga in and of itself has so many principles that are reflective of therapy principles. And so to then combine that with stepping outside of your comfort zone and being in new places, practicing these mental, emotional check-ins, we'll say, and like getting more in touch with yourself, on top of building community, on top of trying new foods, right? Like on top of embracing new cultures, I think that is likely what contributes to that feeling of expanse, that the week is not a week, it's like 7 weeks.
I think there's magic that can happen when we take ourselves out of our daily routine and give ourselves time and space to think and to feel and to breathe. I think we really get caught up in our to-dos. I know I'm guilty of it. And then suddenly we have, this time and the space, and we actually get to contemplate and consider and take care and nourish. And that can be so powerful.
As Melanie and I were chatting, I was reminded of a quote by St. Augustine, theologian and philosopher. "The world is a book, and those who do not travel read only a page." I'll say that again. The world is a book, and those who do not travel read only a page. This quote helped inspire our Mind the Gaps mantra, stepping out of our comfort zone and into our growth zone. Stepping out of the platform of comfort in that subway station, moving over the gap and getting onto the growth train. Minding the gap, traveling into growth. I shared this quote with Melanie and asked her what came to mind.
It's so true. I mean, I think that's what I love most about travel, is that the expansion that it gives us to our world. When we stay in the place that we're in our comfort zone, yes, where we are is beautiful and that's great. But when we step outside and we're exposed to other perspectives, languages, cultures, food, I mean, that just grows our empathy, I think, and our understanding of the world. And I think it's really, really important as humans to realize our connection and to deepen our understanding of other cultures and other people. And when we do step outside of our comfort zone, that is when we, overcome obstacles and realize our brilliance and how strong and capable and resilient we are. And that's so important as our to our growth as humans. And I think of times when I've been nervous. Recently, I was in Italy and I was taking the train from Rome to Tuscany, and I showed up and my train wasn't listed, and they said, "Oh, it's not running." And I said, "Oh, my retreat starts in 3 hours. What do I do?" And they said, "Well, you have to get the subway to another station." And my first reaction was, "Oh God, this is unexpected." But then I thought, no, this is doable. I can do this. I've never taken the Rome subway before. What an adventure. And, I did it. I survived. I got there and I just felt like $1,000,000, So, when we overcome those challenges and realize, whoa, I can do this. I am capable. I can travel by myself. I can take this journey. I can maybe order in a different language that I'm learning. It makes us feel so good. And I think as adults, it becomes scarier and more intimidating to do things that we're not maybe good at or not used to. I know during the pandemic, I had a 2-year gap of travel, and getting back into travel again, I was so nervous. Will I remember how to do this? How do I do this? Is it going to be okay? And of course, as I started the journey, it all came back to me, and it just feels so empowering to be able to overcome those little obstacles along the way.
Wow. Yeah, empowering is definitely the word for it, right? Like you face an obstacle, you feel like, "Oh, this is a detour." And then it's like, "No, this is an opportunity for me to grow. This is an opportunity for me to try something new." And I love looking back on experiences like that and saying that and really believing it, because then it's hard to be resentful of things quote unquote going
Mhm.
wrong, because you're like, "Oh, I wouldn't have got to experience this if I didn't get sent down this path," right? And I love how for you specifically there, you literally were taken to a subway and you literally minded the gap in the subway in
Yeah.
Rome. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. And, even in the moment, I was like, this is something that, yes, it's a struggle right now, but in 20 minutes when it's over, you're going to feel so good. I just knew that on the other end of this, it was going to be, of course, it was going to be okay. But yeah, I think, of course, things aren't always going to go as expected. So the ability to adapt and shift and flow and go with the flow, I think is a really important skill, whether you're
Mhm.
traveling or whether you're staying at home.
Mhm. And that seems to be a key facet of your retreats from what I've experienced and from what I've seen from your social media, that it's not like you're just going to an all inclusive and then you're just staying there for the whole time. Not, and obviously no shame to that. We need those trips too.
Mhm.
But these trips seem to be like you're going and you're traveling and you're going to do excursions and you're going to try new things and there's going to be different foods, and it just seems more, I guess, exploratory is the word I'm looking for.
That's really important for me. I mean, yes, the nourishment and the rest is crucial, and I build that in. But I think the cultural piece is so important. What's
Mhm.
out there? What can we authentically take part in and enjoy and learn about from these, our hosts who are natives of the place that we're in? That's a
Mhm.
really important piece for me. So I always build in a few learning or cultural experiences so that we can taste and enjoy and experience what this place has to offer. Because sometimes I think, yeah, you can go to a place and not even know it, not even get to experience it because maybe it's a curated version of
Mm.
the place if your entry or an all inclusive. So that's something that I really seek out, those authentic cultural experiences so that we can broaden our horizons and learn something and again deepen our understanding, our empathy, and have a richer experience.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, to be more immersed in it, that totally makes sense, which very nicely leads into, my next question for you, which is part of stepping out of our comfort zone and into the growth zone is about surrendering how we typically look at life, which is exactly what you're saying. So, I'm curious how traveling all over the world has helped you with this surrendering and or how you've seen it help the people that you're traveling with.
Yeah, the ability to shift and adapt and realize there are some things that are out of your control. I mean, that's
Mm,
just part of life. So, how you respond and react to that, I think it's really, really important. It's knowing that, if something is within my control, then yes, I can make a choice. But if there's something like a delay or a cancellation of a flight, and I just have to work with what I have. And, I understand the anger and the frustration, but really, what is that going to do for you and where is that going to get you? So, yeah, just making sure that I let go of what I can't control and then make the best out of the situation and do what I can with what's in front of me.
mhm. And I love that you're covering the journey, right? So it's not just
Mhm.
about when we're there, it's about, well, the obstacles, because that is a roadblock emotionally for a lot of people to be like, I don't like the stress of traveling, so I don't want to manage that, because you're right, things can come out of left field. And then I'm also curious back to what you were saying about the cultural piece when you're there. One of the first things I thought of when I met you and learned how often you are on the road, we'll say, or in the air, is wow, for people who know multiple languages, for example, there's research that their brains are, we'll say, more nuanced. They're able to make more connections and faster connections and think more creatively because they have almost different lenses of the world through different languages. Now, because you've traveled so much, my first thought was, wow, she must have all these different lenses, not even necessarily in terms of language, but just in terms of cultural integration.
Yeah, and I think thank you for that. That's not something that I've considered. Yeah, perhaps I think that can be true, and there's maybe an adaptability that I've gained that I'm better able to kind of shift into where I am and what's going on. My travels have inspired me to learn other languages. So I'm currently learning Spanish and Italian and French, something that I probably wouldn't do if I wasn't going to these places. And, I love being able to be in a different place and be able to, order a meal or ask where the bathroom is, or have a little bit of a snippet of a conversation in the language of the place that I'm in. I feel that it's respectful. I feel it's a more authentic experience, and you actually maybe get to enjoy or experience a little bit more when you're able to have those conversations. So I'm really, really inspired to grow my language skills. I'm just thinking about this cultural shift. And I have seen people come on retreat and be resistant to the place that they're in because it is so different. And then sometimes different is scary. So, I think that exposure to different cultures is so important because of that, like you said, that lens and that ability to make those connections and just to feel more at ease in a place that isn't like home. I was recently in Morocco last year for the first time, and culturally it was so different from what I'm used to. And there was something very intimidating about that at the start. And then, of course, I felt comfortable there. And so overcoming that stress made me feel empowered and then resilient. And I just felt like how great it is to have that experience of feeling like you're the minority and it's not what you're used to. And then feeling so comfortable there and realizing, oh, I do belong and I can make my way through. And this is great. I'm adapting.
Mm-hmm. How do you notice, or do you notice that shift from discomfort when you're out of your comfort zone to comfort when you're out of your comfort zone, to feel like all of a sudden you belong? Do you feel like it's conscious or it just kind of happens?
I feel like maybe it just kind of happens. Like maybe after a couple of days, you think, oh, actually, I'm really relaxed, or I'm really enjoying myself, or maybe I'm not so nervous when I step out the door. I think it's just something that happens.
Mm-hmm. And likely for you, it's from that experience of doing it so many times. What would you maybe say to someone who is new to going somewhere that's like drastically different from home?
Well, I think, it's important to be safe and informed, of course, like do all your research, but also to just be open to the experience and to soak up everything you can and to realize that there is so much beauty in the differences. And I think that's where sometimes the scary part is, well, what if I can't get the same tea I drink at home? Or what if I can't eat the same food as I do at home? Well, that is an opportunity to learn and grow and experience something different. So I think as long as we can move forward with openness, that's where the enjoyment comes. But if you're moving forward only wanting what you want at home, that's probably going to be a miserable experience. So openness and do it. If you want to do it, if there's like an inkling of, I really want this, I'm a little bit afraid, but I want this, then make sure you're informed and educated about where you're going, but do it. I mean, amazing things can happen when we say yes, and moving forward with openness can be scary because we're vulnerable and because the experience is new, but there also can be incredible experiences had when we step into the unknown.
Mm-hmm. I find, as you're saying that, it really resonates with my decision to go on your retreat. It was like I came across the location through my yoga studio, and then theirs was booked. And again, that was a moment of like, oh no, I missed it. But then I was redirected. And then I found that you were hosting a retreat at the same place. And now look at us here. The transformation that had come from just saying yes to something that felt outside of my usual realm, traveling by myself, traveling to a new place, doing a yoga retreat. I had found yoga about 2 years ago. So this was all very new.
And I think that is the magic of travel as well, because there are lessons to be learned. And I know something that I'm constantly struck by is how quickly we move in North America. It's, we go, we do. There's more. What's next? And when I go to somewhere like Costa Rica and even places in Europe, in the Mediterranean, there's a slowing down and there's an enjoying that I think we miss out on. And so I'm constantly reminded of that. And I can feel my North Americanism kicking in. I was just in Italy and Croatia, and you sit down and you're like, well, the menus aren't here yet. Like, they will come. And I remember a couple of weeks ago when we were in Italy, we had about an hour of free time, and there was a group. There was 5 of them, and they wanted to get a quick coffee and then do some shopping. So they went to 3 different cafes. Can we get a quick coffee? And they all said, no, we don't do quick coffees. You can sit down and, it'll take probably 20 minutes for you to get served, get the bill. We don't do quick coffees. And I thought, whoa, what a great, good on you. But what a lesson, And I think that some of that slowing down, that enjoying it's so important. And that's something that I'm constantly trying to bring back to my life at home and not to get swept up in the do, go, more.
That's such a good point. And the irony of that story, like go to three different shops. They could have just sat and enjoyed at one. They wasted probably more time going to 3 locations, but that's such a good illustration of our stubbornness that can get in the way of embracing the slow, embracing the calm, and definitely something that I appreciated. I think even just about your energy on the retreat was, here are all these options, and we're also not forcing you to be go at all. It's up to you. If you want to do the excursion, great. If you don't, you don't. And I really noticed that slowdown even just within the people who I saw in the community there, and people who I saw coming on to the resort that we were at, there was a smoothie bar, there was a salad bar, all this stuff. And these, I want to say like 16, 17-year-old kids coming from surfing, and this is just their regular day to day, and looking at them and really imagining myself in their shoes, thinking what an amazing upbringing, what an amazingly different upbringing, and how that is their normal. And to us, it feels like a movie. I look at that and think like there may as well be a camera on them, because this feels like one of those surfer movies. But this is just their regular. Like they are being taught to embrace the slow from a younger age. And I know I'm talking specifically about Costa Rica here, but that was definitely a cool slowdown moment.
Yeah. I love those slowdown moments, and they still come to me, and I still feel myself, rushing and trying to do things quickly when I'm away, or maybe, trying to multitask when I'm having lunch. But I think those moments, and, there's so many beautiful moments when we travel that, and lessons that we can take back into our lives to help us in everything that we do.
I took a moment to ask Melanie what travel destination she considers the furthest away from her comfort zone.
Probably Morocco. I had never been to Africa before, and so it was very amazing to hear the call to prayer, sitting on a rooftop having dinner and hear the call to prayer. Culturally, it's so different, and when you look around, you are the minority. And I think that is not something that we're used to when we go to, Europe. And it definitely took me outside my comfort zone and definitely built resilience. And I enjoyed it so much that I'm going back now multiple times over the next few years and adding in a trip to the Sahara. I'm looking forward to exploring more of the country. And I think it was a really nice reminder that you can be safe and comfortable in a place that might seem really, really intimidating at first. And I would like to mention too, I think one of the most profound travel moments or experiences I've ever had was going to Cuba. And I know people go to Cuba all the time on all-inclusives. And the experience that I had was with a company that was quite local. And I worked with them for many years. And going there and experiencing, authentic Havana and making friends with people who are artists and chefs. It was really, really incredible to be immersed in that culture and to be so closely connected with people and to realize they have so little, but yet their lives are so rich in a different way. And that was such a life-changing experience for me to spend time with so many incredibly resourceful, brilliant, creative people. And that is something that I will take with me through my whole life.
Wow.
But I did maybe 15 trips there in 3 years.
Oh, wow.
So I did, quite a lot of retreats. Sometimes I would convince someone, they would say, I've done an all-inclusive in Cuba. I don't want to go back. And I'd say, no, you need to come feel the real Cuba. You need to have this experience. And they would. And of course they'd be like, oh my God, thank you so much. This was so different from my experience before. But I think you can have those experiences in a lot of different places when you get to the authentic heart or root of the place. If you're willing to, go there, and if you want to have those experiences, they're there to be had.
Yeah. Was that unexpected for you then?
Oh, completely. And in fact, Cuba wasn't even on my radar, and the opportunity came up and I said, yeah, let's try it out. And it just completely blew my mind and blew my heart open.
Oh, I love that. Blew my heart open. That's amazing. I'm going to quote you on that.
Sure.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think that's amazing to hear that the most profound travel experience for you was unexpected, right? As it should be, as most things are. We try and plan and make everything just so. And sometimes when things go according to plan, we think like, okay, yeah, that was good. But it could be great if it doesn't. Like it can
Oh,
actually be much better.
absolutely. Yeah. Sometimes, the best is in the unknown and in the unexpected, and making the most of the situation instead of getting really resistant and saying, well, but this is not going according as planned. Like, okay, what can I learn from the situation? What can I learn from the moment, and how can we make the best of it?
Mhm. You had said we are often focused on the destination and sometimes we dread the actual getting there. I'm curious what some tips are to make the journey as pleasant as possible. And in the asking of this question, not even just logistics, mentally, emotionally, and even just outside of travel, I feel like we're so focused on the destination, less so on the journey. I'm curious for you how we can apply that to travel and life.
Yeah, I mean, I hear this a lot from people saying, "Oh, I can't. How do you deal with it? Like the planes and the travel and the people, and like, oh, it takes all the joy out of it." And my first thought is, it doesn't at all if you approach it a certain way. So for me, I live in Newfoundland, so for me to get anywhere, I have to first go to Toronto or Montreal, and then onward. So even if I want to go to Europe, I have to go 3.5 hours west to then go east, which not great, but I find the time quite luxurious. I get to sit and read a book. I've read entire books on flights, or maybe I get to sit and listen to a podcast or watch a movie. And so just realizing, okay, this is time for me to just be, just to read, just to enjoy, not to be doing. So I think viewing it as time to just relax or to enrich. And also that you talked about surrendering to what you can't control or to the flow, and just knowing that if something comes up that's unexpected, a change, a delay, a cancellation, then here's my chance to be able to breathe through it and find my way through it, practice my yogi skills. And I think just realizing that, if you want to get here, then you have to make the journey. And so if you want to go somewhere like Bali, which is incredible, I had so many people say, yeah, but it's so far. I know, isn't that the point? It's, the other side of the world, and what a beautiful experience and culture you're going to get to enjoy. But yeah, you have to get there. And I think part of the beauty is that some of these places are harder to get to, and so you're going to have people there who really want to be there. I mean, being in Nosara in Costa Rica, that road is something else. That drive is to be experienced.
Oh
And
my God. Yeah.
there's a sign now that I see quite a lot in Nosara. Some artist has written it up that says, "Bad roads bring good people." Right.
Oh,
So
awesome.
sometimes the harder places to get to are going to bring the people who truly want to be there. Finding what you can in the journey to bring you little bits of joy. And for me, that's taking time to slow down and read or watch a series, something that I don't necessarily get to do in my everyday life because I'm an entrepreneur, and that means your day is filled with stuff all the time.
Yeah. I really like that quote about the bad roads bring good people. It's true.
Mm-hmm.
For anyone who has been or hasn't been to Costa Rica, the road from the airport to the edge of the jungle, we'll say, is quite something. Very bumpy, but the joy in the journey, I love that. I love the whole normalizing that there will be chaos or organized chaos, like just changing the expectation, right? And then bringing that home with you, right? To just normalize that there will be chaos
Bumps in the road.
Yeah, exactly. And I think back to what you said about the resilience and the empowerment of doing something that you didn't think you would do. And then that builds confidence. And it's like, well, if I could do that, like if I could conquer that road, or if I could ride that subway, or if I could do that trip by myself, then when I'm at home, something that might have brought a lot of anxiety can be easily quieted, reminding yourself of the mountain you climbed, whatever it is you did.
Yeah.
Right?
And that actually gave me goosebumps, because that, I think, is part of what I want people to experience on my trips, is the ability, for them to do something that maybe they haven't done before, they were intimidated to do, and then they did it, and then they feel so amazing, and then you can take that back home with them. And I do get a lot of solo women who come on my retreats, and the first time they've traveled solo, or the first time they've been solo in this particular country, and you can see how proud and empowered they feel afterwards. And yeah, that's going to help them in every single thing they do when they get back home. And that is such a beautiful experience to have. Like I said, especially as we get older and things sometimes become a little scarier when they're newer. I think having those experiences where we can gain confidence, those are golden.
Absolutely. And this retreat was a big oh, I just got this idea and it came out of nowhere and I'm just going to do it before I have time to talk myself out of it. So that really marked a shift too, because when I got home from that retreat, a couple weeks later, I launched the podcast, and the podcast then has become my everything. So that trip really marked a line in the sand for me.
That's so friggin' cool. It really is. That's amazing. That's amazing.
So just wanted you to know that, whether I put that on or
yeah, no, it's good for me to hear about those experiences because it makes me remember how I think important facilitating that is and helping people to, give themselves that time and that space, because sometimes it's never going to come if it's left up to the person.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. From your retreat, I have this picture of me. I think you took it when I was on the beach at sunset, and it was our last night, and I did my dancer's pose. And just looking at that picture when I was there was, wow, like I feel like this encapsulates so much of the growth that was experienced on the trip. I'm literally getting teary-eyed even talking about it. It's like I'll look at that photo and be like, holy shit, that was like a big shift in my life. So yeah.
And that's why I love doing what I do. Now I'm getting a little teary because, sometimes it's not easy and I'm away from home for long stretches. But I love what I do. I love exploring places and being in different cultures. And I love helping people feel better and to give them those experiences where they can feel like, yeah, there was a shift. I grew, I surprised myself. I'm proud of myself. Like that's beautiful.
Yeah, it's huge. It was such an amazing eye-opener. And you think about all the things that you just say yes to. Like one of the other women, Jenny, on the retreat had said, she's like, let's have a yes day, like every day. And it was like, let's just keep saying yes to stuff. And then she went surfing every day for the rest of the trip, which is awesome. But yeah, just being like, okay, what's the new thing I can do today? And then you see certain travelers doing kind of the same thing, right? Like staying in that safe space. And you have the option to do that anywhere in life, on vacation, anytime, to be like, I'm just going to stick with what I know, or every day I'm going to try and say yes to something new. And I think that doing these types of experiences brings that confidence to do that at home.
Oh, absolutely. And it's important. I think it's important to have those experiences, because if we stay in the same place, then we don't really learn anything new.
Exactly.
Thank you for this opportunity, because it's something that I'm really passionate about. I'm really passionate about people having these travel experiences, because I think they can be so life-changing. I get it. It can be scary to step outside your comfort zone and experience a new place, but it can be so enriching and so important, and it could be the best thing that you've ever done.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Melanie, for joining us today. I so appreciate your time, and I just appreciate what you do, right? What you do for us and for your community and for communities all over the world.
Oh, thank you so much. That means a lot.
Thank you so much for listening. If you're enjoying the podcast, I invite you to participate in a growth zone challenge. I invite you to take a moment, a second, a gap in your day right now and share this episode with 2 other people. Thank you for minding the gaps with me. I'll see you next time on the journey out of our comfort zones and into our growth zones.